employment. First of all, you might know, we in the European Parliament, we already decided on we would like to do with general data protection, and also specifically in the Employment Affairs Committee concerning the data protection at the workplace. But we haven't finished the whole issue yet, because as you know, the legislators, the Parliament on the one side and of course the Council on the other side. The Council, I just can tell you that, is far slower. I mean, they are always like that, so we will finish in this period of before May, before the elections. The Commissioner Reding today, she announced in a bit optimistic way, we might do that in an early stage of the next legislative period. I'm supporting her, so I'm very much hoping that this might be possible. I'll just tell you it's not easy. In the beginning, when there was the first informal Council of Ministers, I was participating for my committee, the Legal Affairs Committee, which went as well. And there somehow I realized all those countries, everybody always says it's absolutely necessary, we have to do something, but, and then you have all those exceptions. And that's where we are. We need to do something. I think we don't have to discuss about that. The rules so far are based on the before internet time, so somehow time has completely changed also in the workplace. There are problems. Some people are even not aware that they're existing. Others are already aware. We are in an area where on national level somehow solutions also by jurisdictions already are more or less offered. But there are so many questions that are not solved yet, and it's absolutely necessary and it's good that we do something at European Union level. First, that's the first message. We are living in times where we should and absolutely must have something at European Union level, also in order to be strong enough against all those other areas and countries who don't have the same idea about fundamental rights as the European Union has. That's the second thing. We are talking about fundamental rights. We're talking about the Charter of Fundamental Rights, not only also about ILO conventions, but we are talking about the right to privacy and the right to data protection. And that's exactly the background. So what did we do at the Employment Committee? We absolutely focused on a very narrow aspect. So simply we have to mention that we didn't know that, do that because we are not aware about all those other problems that are on the horizon. But that was the lead committee, the Libby committee, who dealt with that. So we're more or less having this strong focus on the workplace. I won't go into detail concerning the problems because they have already been plastically and clearly presented right now. The problem with profiling, the problem with more or less sort of surveillance, so what can be really seen, heard, realized by the employer, and also the problem that has been clearly put on the table of blacklisting. So what we did right now in this key article 2, but not only, is to say there are a couple of circumstances we don't allow. We simply say it's forbidden in order to have more legal clarity. That's concerning surveillance, so somehow if it's secretly done, anyway it is always forbidden, but also if it's more or less obviously done, it is not allowed to do that in the wardrobe, in all those areas of an enterprise that are dedicated more to the break time and private areas. Second thing is profiling. I think that's one of those secret problems where some workers simply don't realize what's all in there. What about medical data, for example? I think we are here also quite clear in saying, okay, we don't accept that. Sometimes we need a little bit more clarification, and I just tell you, it's compromise. So somehow it is as it is in real world. I would have preferred to have more clarity, but I think the Parliament's position is quite clear. And the third big thing are those blacklisting issues. So Clara was already mentioning cases we have a huge scandal, and there we really have clear data on a system, a system that should be absolutely and strictly forbidden of an enterprise that was collecting data of, for example, people of trade unionists, so those representing the rights of workers, so somehow another fundamental right, the right to organize. But also it's about the question of sexual orientation, so somehow collecting these data, of course, that's something we don't accept at all. So what has happened in UK is, in the construction sector, that enterprises went to this other enterprise collecting the data and didn't hire those who were known as troublemakers, those who already showed their interest in strengthening workers' rights. And this is something that now with this regulation is clearly not allowed. Altogether, we're speaking about minimum standards, and I know that is something we might discuss right now, because what is a regulation offering minimum standards? So to be honest, from a legal standpoint, it's more a hybrid. It's more going into a regulation that reminds a little bit of a directive, because it leaves room, and I would strengthen that, to make the whole regulation more precise and also stronger at national level via collective agreements or agreements of the Works Council. So somehow this room of maneuver is given. Also maybe to have a specific regulation or a specific directive, maybe, something to discuss on these issues at the workplace, data protection in the workplace, at European level. Right now, with the general regulation, of course, we just can tackle this abstract issue. And finally, my last point, the data protection officer. This is really a person, I mean, absolutely needed. The situation is different from country to country, but somehow is absolutely needed in this time of blurred, opaque awareness of where the individual rights of employees really are. Most people are simply not aware, they just have an idea. So it's so important to have access to this data protection officer. Unfortunately, it's not possible to have one in every really branch of an enterprise. We couldn't get that. We could improve the Commission's proposal, because we talked about enterprises of 250 employees. Now we are just simply thinking a bit more what quality of an enterprise are we dealing with. It makes a difference if you're talking about an enterprise that is dealing with data. Yeah, it's something else if you're talking about a factory with workers. We just have a couple of data stored. And, or if you're talking about a high-tech enterprise, so somehow the quality of the enterprise right now is reflected in there. But from my point of view, there is really need of improvement. One good message, and I hope it remains in the final result then with the Council, is even if we don't have these figures that and we're still talking about a fundamental right, not about something that is smaller at a small and medium enterprise and bigger at a big enterprise, so it's a fundamental right for everybody. Still, enterprises should be organized in a way that the data protection officer is accessible, that you have an access. So, and there, of course, a lot of clarification will be needed then at the national and at the collective agreements level. Thank you.
Thank you so much for also giving a bit of an insider's perspective of how the legislation was drafted.